Welcome to Two Women in Crypto, a weekly podcast birthed on a whim by two women who are excited about the cryptocurrency landscape and have a shared passion about empowering others to step into the digital, tokenized world of the future. We offer tips, tricks, and our own individual insights as to how to begin to navigate this shift. We are not financial advisors nor experts. We are just here to encourage you to look at the possibilities. So welcome to the future. You're right on time. And you're live. We're live. Up in the corner.
We're live.
Yes, we're live. Again.
Yay, we're live. We got such good feedback last week that I said, Kelly, let's just go live, do it again. So
we're live, but we're not live. It's not streaming live, but we're showing up on video, just the two of us. And we're going to post this as it is. So, yay. Hello.
Hello. Welcome back to Two Women in Crypto. Something different for us, recording in the afternoon. This will be fun.
Yes, on a Wednesday afternoon. So very cool. It feels good.
So good. So many things happened this week. So many fun things to talk about. We got the update for the Ripple court case, and we got a lot of news going on, a lot of interesting news. But why don't we start off with the country of Turkey? How about looking at Shiba Inu to adopt it as one of their currencies?
There we go. That's big. And SHIB has been on our top of our list for a while. One of the many on the top of our list.
Yeah. So Kelly and I probably own like 25, 30 coins at this point.
Yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous. So we need to pare down. At least I do. I know I do. But yes, it's one of them.
Because when you start reading about the companies and the potential of their use case and the problems that they could solve, and some of their ecosystems that they're building out is just so fun. It's hard not to root for them, And I think Shiba Inu, it started as such an underdog, but here we go. We talked about this like a couple weeks ago. We could go to Italy and go to that fast food Italian restaurant and pay for Shiba Inu. And, for people that haven't really been following the currency of Turkey, it's been devalued 50%, pretty much since the virus started. So the country is really starting to look at other alternatives for people to pay for goods and services, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And full disclosure, and of course, never financial advice. We do hold, as we've already alluded to, some of that coin, but I'm excited about that. I think that there's a lot of positive things happening behind the scene for SHIB.
Yep. And we just want to keep an eye on use case and they have to burn some of their token supply because there's so many tokens that can be in circulation at one time, which is like high inflation, right? So Shiba Inu right now is inflationary, but as they go through, make their tokenomics of the token better, they'll burn their tokens, reduce the supply, and the price goes up just because there's not as many circulating in the system. So Same thing with the United States dollar. We have a lot of dollars in circulation right now. The prices go up because we have inflation. And then we'll get into this too, but Jerome Powell, he's raising interest rates, taking some of that money out of the supply. Well, hopefully, in theory, we'll see inflation go down a little bit. So it's super fun. And, I think the difference between Shiba Inu and the United States dollar is that the United States dollar has been around for a long time. And when you look at the history of any currency, all of them eventually go to zero.
Right. Exactly.
So Shiba Inu is just getting started.
Yeah, there's quite a few coins out there.
Yeah. Yep. And I wanted to keep everybody posted too with like the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF. It's going to be back on the table to see if the SEC will pass adoption in June or July. So for people that don't really understand what an ETF is, it's an exchange traded fund where now your IRAs, your pension funds can diversify into Bitcoin and some of these cryptocurrencies down the road. So, when I try to think of, as we go through this process of the dollar getting devalued, that we're going to see blockchain and cryptocurrency get more and more adopted. So hopefully that's going to level out, some of the significant changes that's going on right now in our monetary policy.
So keep your eyes out on your plan offerings towards the end of the year when you can make your changes, because that's when, in your investment funds, that's when those opportunities would be available for most people in the corporate structure.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, and just to kind of go down like a little bit more of the news, did you see that news article about AMC Theater?
Yes.
Whoa.
That was really big. I mean, that lends itself to not only the SHIB portion, because they also are taking SHIB, if I remember correctly,
Yep.
in terms of to the metals. So go ahead, dive into that.
Yeah, so AMC is a nationwide movie theater, and basically what they're doing and what they've done is they bought 22% of a gold company. And it's so interesting to see, like, we just had this conversation last week of how maybe we're moving away from like this fiat based dollar system based on almost nothing except for the trust that we have in our government, and not just our government, but all governments. And kind of like we're seeing companies connect their balance sheet to commodities such as gold. And we kind of always say we want to diversify. We, for 5,000 years, gold has been a hedge against inflation. And now we see like a large movie theater hedging their balance sheet with a gold mining stock.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty
based
interesting.
in northern Nevada. So it's based in the United States as well, which
Well,
it's
it's kind of funny. One of the first things that I thought about when I saw that was, yeah, we really are in the wild, wild west. When everybody was coming over from Europe and coming across the waters here to settle because of the gold rush, right? And it's so fascinating that they're buying gold. It kind of just had this little playbook, this little structure kind of playing out in my mind. It's pretty interesting because we talk about us being in the wild, wild west, and so you have somebody like that panning for gold in Nevada, really. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, yes. So, and I wrote down the name of the company. It's called Hycroft, HYCROFT, and it's gold and silver mining. It's a 71,000 acre mine in northern Nevada.
Yep.
And I don't know if you saw too, but Tesla also said that they were looking at potentially investing in gold and gold backed exchange traded products as well. And they're already in Bitcoin. So we're seeing these big companies kind of transition over to some of these commodities.
Yep. I know that we talked a little bit via some of the text that it is going to be a very commodity driven market here.
Yeah.
Which it is already, but there's going to be a lot more focus on it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And even like when we think about, digital assets being pegged to things like gold, silver, copper, we touched base on that last week. I can kind of really start seeing that happen. Like, at first we're like speculating, and then it's like, whoa, this news came out and that news came out, and what's going to be next. So stay tuned. We'll keep everybody posted. I
Yep.
mean, it's so much fun kind of diving deep and pulling like these nuggets out.
Oh, it is. There's so many threads that you can follow. Absolutely.
Yep. Yep. So now I know we've kind of been really diving deep with the SEC lawsuit with Ripple, but did you see the SEC? We know the SEC sued the company LBRY.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, I didn't see that. I didn't do a deep dive into that. So I was really, so LBRY is the same thing as Odyssey.
Right. Right.
For
So
the,
if you're on Odyssey, you get paid out in LBRY tokens. The SEC turned around and sued LBRY. So
right.
the CEO on an interview called the SEC a mafia. the SEC is the mafia of the United States. Like, this is how corrupt some of our government institutions are. So, like, as we move forward and we have this conversation today, it's really important that we start holding these people accountable. So the more education we have, the more we reach out to these agencies, our congressmen, the House of Representatives, the more they know that we're watching them. And I kind of feel like this is like we have a critical moment of time to steer the ship the way that we want it steered. And listening to the CEO, I mean, he said that the SEC told him, we can make this very expensive for you if you don't give us what you want. And they even wanted every piece of data ever viewed, like all of the histories, all of, every time someone went on. And it's just like,
and how much somebody would have accrued in the LBRY token based on what they want, the whole bailiwick. They want everything.
Yeah, and our viewing histories too. So why is the SEC going after all of our data? Now, LBRY didn't do it, which is good, but again, the fact that the SEC is like threatening them, it's kind of like extortion, like, oh, you want to play, you got to pay, and we can make this really expensive for you, or you could give us what we want, just like BlockFi. They cut, BlockFi cut them a deal, and then boom, they're back in business.
Yeah, that's an excellent example of that, for sure.
Yeah. So we just want to be mindful of these things. And again, we're going to stay on these people and hold them accountable so we have a fair system. It's so important right now.
It is important across the board, and we're seeing it mirrored everywhere. So we've got to be paying attention and be willing to step out of line. I'm going to keep on using that.
Yep, got to step out of line. You got to step out of line when tyrannical governments are pushing us. You know what I mean? Because it's like the government never stops. And that's what I was telling people from the beginning. I told them, I laid it out. I said, they're going to mandate the vaccine or the shot. And then the people that don't do it, they're going to come and they're going to knock on our doors. And then you're not going to be able to go into stores. And I just, because it's straight out of like the Nazi playbook. It's the same thing, different story. And they don't stop because they want us in a surveillance system, like underneath like a carbon credit, social credit score system. So we stay in line.
Yeah.
So now's our chance to step out of line, because one day we might not have that opportunity, right? Because if we step out of line, when we're in a social credit system, then we can't eat, we can't drive our car, we can't get on a plane, because it's programmable money and they'll just cut you off.
Right. Yep.
So, and that's just a possibility. That's something that could happen.
Right. Again, we're just sharing shining the flashlight into the dark corners that a lot of people don't want to think about. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen. It's just
right. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but if you go to any company, go to Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Truist, any major bank, and you'll see they have a whole ESG plan. They have the infrastructure in place to roll out environmental social governance, which is all about being on a carbon neutral social credit score system. So they want us to go that way. And we'll see, we'll see what happens.
Right. And the way they can do that is by tracking everything that you do. That's how they do it, by everything that you do. And that's why they're wondering, where is that $100 that you just pulled out of the bank? Where is that going to? What are you doing with your $100?
Yeah. And even the cars, like they're, like we're shifting from like an oil-based economy and society. And now they want us to go to electric. And all new electric cars have a kill switch in them. So if you're only allowed to drive a certain amount of miles a day, they can remotely cut your car off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See?
I know. Happy news there.
But if this was whiskey, if I was a drinker, I would be in the bootleg industry right now, but I'm not. But I'll stick with water. But yeah.
Yep. I know, during Prohibition, I had cousins in Pennsylvania that were bootleggers. So maybe it's just in my genes to like step out of line and question question authority, you know? And I think rules are great, but when they hurt people and they control people, that's not good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So, you know, the other interesting news, and I thought this would be fun for us to track, is that, you know, because of the sanctions that are going down in Russia, they shut down 850 million McDonald's.
I saw that, but I mean, there's a lot going on with McDonald's. We don't have to go down that twist, haha, ice cream joke. But tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I just thought it would be super interesting to see that when they open them back up, how automated will McDonald's be?
Yeah.
You know, I saw, you know, because like I was an IT recruiter for so many years, I could see the technology like being built, and there's a robotic arm that flips hamburgers. Its name is Flippy.
Well, and you noticed, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Chipotle has created their own little robot to do their chips, and it's called Chippy. So Flippy and Chippy. So I think you and I should start wearing t-shirts, Flippy and Chippy. I could use this week. I mean, we have to laugh at some of this because we are going to be driving through a drive-through if we choose to, and it's going to be all automated, everything.
Yeah. And I kind of like Kelly and I always feel too, it's better to know so we're not shocked.
Yeah.
Right? Because our world is changing. We're moving into like a super technologically advanced society. So the more we can prepare our mind and kind of ground to this, we won't be so shocked when it actually happens.
I don't know. I kind of like the Flippy and Chippy names. So, but I agree. No, we have to be prepared for what's coming around the corner.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, yeah. So with that, so we covered the CEO of LBRY, which I thought it was great that he's totally comfortable calling out the SEC. And that's like stepping out of line, right? Because he's talking to the public and he's like, this is what they're doing to us. Right. So what's really interesting, just to kind of jump into the Ripple story. So Ripple was trading, well, XRP was trading since 2013. And then Bill Hinman dropped the lawsuit on his way out of the SEC. So Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Lawson from Ripple were like, you know, we really didn't have fair notice that we were going to be sued because XRP's been trading since 2013. 8 years later, you're suing us for selling an unregistered security. So the judge is going to hear this part, right? The SEC wanted to strike it and say, Ripple had fair notice. We're moving forward. And Judge Torres said, no, we're going to hear this. So this is like so super important because I know we kind of touch base on the Howey test, but there's certain prongs that you have to check whether or not you're a security or a commodity, you know, and then whatever, you know, the regulatory clarification is going to be. And it was so interesting because the first thing they said was that the price of XRP correlates exactly depending on the business that Ripple does. Okay. Yeah. So they paid over $100,000 for this Dr. Metz, he's got a doctor in economics, and they write up this report for the SEC and they give it to the judge. And the judge basically reads the 2-page summary because no average person can read through the document, which was like 66 pages. You can't read through the document and understand it because it's so complex. Sure. So the fact that XRP and everyone who's in crypto understands that XRP correlates with Bitcoin, not with what Ripple does, right? If Ripple goes out of business tomorrow and they don't, like they're not used for the SWIFT system, they're not used for anything, XRP can still trade. XRP is a decentralized peer-to-peer technology. I can send Kelly money through our Trust Wallet or Safepal Wallet, and no one knows that we're sending money back and forth to each other. because it's decentralized. Okay, so it's not based on what Ripple does. It's really based right now on what Bitcoin does. So the fair notice defense and basically what they were saying is that it puts the SEC's action on trial. Okay, so the SEC dropped this lawsuit, didn't give Ripple fair notice. So it kind of, at this point in time, kind of turns that lawsuit around and puts the SEC on trial.
Which is good. Again.
Yep. It's a big win for Ripple. We saw the price kind of pop up. I think it went up about 10%.
Well, actually, the price is really rallying right now. I mean, it's had a nice little surge. It's at almost 79 cents today.
Oh, nice. Yep.
That's based on that last little tidbit of information that was just released in regards to the Ripple company and partnership with Wells Fargo. Did you want to go into that now? I think that is part of the surge that's happening here. I'll go ahead and share a screen here. Hold on just a second. And some of you may have already seen it too. I'm sure by the time you're listening to this podcast, you will have possibly seen it. So hold on just a second.
Yep.
All right. So it's basically, and I can read it to, I don't know if you can see that very well, Andrea, but it's the clearinghouse. A known Ripple partner is working with Wells Fargo on a cross-border payment system specifically designed to support digital commerce that could potentially replace SWIFT. So we've been talking about this possibility for a while. Yep. So it's interesting that it's just today kind of been making this splash. And I do feel that this recent surge we're having is part of that, because this was just released right before we came on to record.
Yeah, I mean, and the clearinghouse is such a huge institution. And again, we know this. I listened to Brad Garlinghouse talk with like one of the business people from Fox, and the guy asked him, hey, wasn't Ripple built to replace SWIFT? And Brad Garlinghouse was like, well, yes, it was, So we're seeing this happen. And it's going to be really interesting to just keep following this. And while the lawsuit is kind of like, it's coming to a close. And again, coming to a close could mean the end of the summer, September, October. But at the end of the day, it is coming to a close. The United States is getting regulatory clarification. More news is coming out about Ripple's partnerships and adoption. And when Kelly and I read something like this article from like Wells Fargo, and it's like the possibility of replacing the SWIFT system. Well, Kelly, do you think it's a possibility that China's going to sign a contract with Saudi Arabia to do oil trading in the yuan?
Right. I don't believe that's the first time that whole topic's been on the table. I think there's obviously some back end strings being
for years.
For sure. Absolutely.
And why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? Like when I look at the United States and the SWIFT system and how they weaponize the system, they've had sanctions on so many people. Like, I think it was like there's like 1 billion people that are in the SWIFT system, but I think there's 6 billion people that aren't in the SWIFT system. And when you look at the BRICS nations, Brazil, India, South Africa, Russia, and China, they've all been sanctioned in the past. So if you're getting sanctioned and the people in your country don't have access to goods and services and now money, what would you do? You would find different avenues to trade money back and forth. And we know they can't do this on cryptocurrency. And I kind of feel like some of the people in the government are using the narrative for like anti-laundering, and Russia is circumventing, sanctions for the SWIFT system by using cryptocurrency. It's like cryptocurrency isn't even right now. It's not even like a $2 trillion market. The bond market is 100 trillion. Just to kind of give you an idea, like cryptocurrency is here. It's an infant, maybe becoming a toddler.
Right.
And then you have the stock market, the bond market, the commodities market. You're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars. The cryptocurrency market is nowhere near liquid to be able to provide the money that Russia needs to trade on a daily basis. It's just impossible. But the government can use that against the average person, saying you got to get a digital ID, because we need to know who you are. We need to know where you're spending your money. And it's a narrative.
It is a narrative. I mean, it's everything that the main media is feeding us all and has been for years and will continue to do so. So you need to question things, folks. Just question things.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is too, it's like, like part of like the SEC, just, to touch base on the lawsuit, like they're saying like Ripple had a direct relationship with its investors of XRP. Now, if you're in the XRP community, all of us have signed the lawsuit. There's over 65,000 XRP holders that have sued, the SEC. Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple have no idea who we are, right? They don't know. They have no relationship with 65,000 of us. So it was kind of like a really good thing that John Deaton, he owned XRP. He happened to be a lawyer, and he read the lawsuit and he was mad. So he got involved. And now that's really going to show so strongly in this fair defense notice. So, I mean, I wish the lawsuit could just wrap up in like a couple weeks, and maybe it will. I heard Brad Garlinghouse say that, but these things tend to go on longer than what we would want them to.
Well, we all know that there's so much energy moving around right now. I mean, there's so many pieces on the chessboard that are being moved. Who knows, really? It could, who knows? Maybe there will be that tipping point sooner than later. It would be nice.
It would be really nice, wouldn't it?
Really nice. It would be really nice. As I'm watching XRP just getting ready to hit 79 cents. So it's perfect.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. And again, it's like once this lawsuit wraps up, I mean, we're not financial advisors. We don't have a crystal ball. But historically speaking, if a company gets sued, a company wins, the price goes up, right? So XRP should see a really big bounce. And then once the announcement is made that XRP is going to be part of the central bank digital currency economy, cross-border payments on institutions, right? We'll see much larger market cap at that point. And again, it's like when we think about the current SWIFT system, right? So if I'm sending like $1 trillion a day, in these messages back and forth, right? And I need as an institution, I need to hold that $1 trillion and kind of wait for it to clear before I can send the money to the next institution. And then that money settles, and then that person can walk out with the money. So in this instance, what XRP does, and it's such a big, it's such a big solution to having the money locked up. And when you listen to the news, they'll listen to them having liquidity problems. And liquidity is just a fancy word for we don't have any money. We don't have any money. All of our money is locked up in these accounts, which are called nostro vostro accounts. So it's a fancy word to just say we have to hold this money in this account, and then when it settles, the money can go. But with XRP, the money can go instantaneously. Instantaneously, you can send $1 trillion to all of these different banks all over the world for fractions of a penny in 3 to 5 seconds.
Man, right?
It's a big deal. And I know a lot of people are concerned with like kind of the morality of some of these companies. And I think we should talk about this a little bit, because is XRP bad? XRP isn't bad. XRP is a decentralized digital asset. It's how it's used that's bad. Now, if 40% of all of our jobs are going to be automated by 2030, how are we going to get around not having universal basic income for the people? I think we're going to need it. Now, once the company puts sanctions on people for not doing what you're told based on your carbon credit score, or, whatever you do, that's when it becomes a problem. You
Huge.
know what I mean? So we just have to think about these things and get involved, right? Because do we want to use Bitcoin, for everyday purchases when it doesn't settle instantaneously, and it also doesn't settle for pennies on the dollar? Like, I think what people need to understand is, like, the new monetary system is transaction based. Every single time you make a payment, you will be taxed. There's going to be a transaction fee, which I think will become eventually the new taxation system.
Well, and we were talking about that before we actually pushed that record button, because there are those that have that school of thought that Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be the end all be all in the cryptocurrency landscape. And to that point, what you're just talking about is, if it takes that long for things to settle and we have an opportunity to do these things instantaneously and all these other functionalities, then how can that be that, right?
No, absolutely. And I love Bitcoin. I mean, I own a decent amount of Bitcoin because, again, Bitcoin, there's no censorship involved. It's not controlled by any government. But at the end of the day, I don't really think a lot of these coins are controlled by governments. It's the on and off ramps. If you want to send people money in Russia right now through PayPal, Google Pay, Apple Pay, through Zelle, Venmo, anything, they're all frozen. It's the on and off ramps. And I
Right.
heard Christine Lagarde say that, and even Brad Garlinghouse, we have choke points. You want to get on the system, that's a choke point. You can't. You want to get off the system, it's a choke point. So if I send you money through Silo or Safepal or Trust Wallet, and you get that money and you want to go to Whole Foods and buy something, how are you going to pay for it?
Right. Yeah.
And that's the solution that we need. So if anybody knows of a decentralized payment app that isn't run on Google app, like Google Apps or Apple Pay, like, let us know, because I'm looking and I haven't seen anything that really does that at all.
Yeah, there's got to be somebody out there who's in this field that is creating or going to announce the creation and representation of that, because we absolutely need it. Boy, the markets are rallying across the board, it seems, right now. So, what do you think the cause of that was?
So Jerome Powell came out today and made an announcement that they're raising the interest rate 0.25%. So there was a lot of speculation and FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that they were going to raise it 0.5%. So the market, like when Jerome Powell first announced that he was raising interest rates like a month or two ago, the stock market and cryptocurrency dipped. It dropped. And now we're seeing it recover because it's kind of like better news than what we were expecting. 0.25% isn't a lot. I think it should concern us that we haven't even raised interest rates in what, it's been a couple years. So 0.25%, and we'll see what that does, and we'll see how that inflects, how it affects inflation, because we're signing bills, and we signed a bill to give aid to the Ukraine, and which we don't have the money to do that. And now Biden wants more money to send to the Ukraine. So again, I don't see how that's going to help inflation right now if we're just keep printing money. So we have to watch how much money they're printing to how much they're raising the interest rates. And Jerome Powell wants to raise them throughout the year. And I think the total amount was like 1.875% by the end of the year was like the goal, which could
Yeah.
change because we're at war. And every time we're at war, we need to print more money. And again, if you look at the history, it kind of like repeats the same pattern over and over again. We print too much money, so then we have to go to war. And this is my personal opinion. We can blame Russia for the fact that we created 40% more dollars since we told everybody to stay home back in 2020. So this was going to happen with or without the war. But if we go to war, now we have a scapegoat, and we can do a global reset of the currency and then move forward in this new monetary system.
Yeah, a whole lot of things are being rolled out.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I actually like I'm so crazy, Kelly. Like I went to the Ukrainian government's website.
Well, I didn't get a late night call this week to hear about this. So tell me, what did you find out there?
So
I
I
love it.
went to the Ukrainian website, and if like and this happened before Russia went to war, but it kind of shows you the narrative and where they want to take us to.
Sure.
So if you're 60 years old or older, you can get a free smartphone and free internet, but only if you got the shot.
That's right. You sent that to me. Oh, that's crazy.
And that's right on their website. And it was so interesting because I was talking to like an older gentleman who will remain nameless, and he said that's not true. They're lying. And I was like, the Ukrainian government's lying. It's on their website. Like, I know it's hard to believe, but like they have a narrative of where they want us to go, transitioning us from one monetary system to another monetary system that's strongly based on having a digital ID and a central bank digital currency. Now, I couldn't find anything about a central bank digital currency being dropped, but one of the economic guys, he actually is from Ukraine. He lives in the United States, and he has two other residences, one in Switzerland and one in Dubai. Really interesting guy, just as like a backup. But he
Yeah.
said that they did drop the central bank digital currency in Ukraine it's called an e-wallet, but you had to get the jab.
Oh,
So
wow.
only
Interesting.
people who got the shot deserve to feed yourself and your family. Really interesting how they're separating everybody, like even in times of crisis.
It's all about division. I mean, that's where they feel that they have the power, is the more divisive they can create in the world, the more divisiveness, they feel that that's their end all be all.
Well, yeah, and if you can starve somebody enough, you know what? They'll line up and get the shot, and then they'll feed their family.
Right.
So it's kind of like that control. And again, like the narrative and what I've been seeing over the course of the couple years is like the government never stops taking away your rights until you tell them to stop. Like when the truckers got on the road, they were telling them to stop, then the emergency authorization got stopped, like they didn't have to go and be mandated to get the shot. So at some point, human beings are going to have to make their voices heard. It's the same thing. If we don't want the Federal Reserve Bank to roll out a central bank digital currency, which they have been testing for decades. Jerome Powell said they've been looking at digital assets for decades. This isn't something new. And if we don't want a central bank digital currency, we are going to have to make our voices heard, because what's going to happen is we're going to have like an event, whether that's another pandemic, a cyber attack, whatever they probably have planned out for us. And then they're going to say, okay, everybody's bank accounts got wiped out because of Russia, and download the Fed app, and we're going to send you universal basic income. But you have to have the shot.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
have,
And
so we don't want this. We don't want these currencies to be used for central bank digital currencies, but 80 to 90% of all countries are planning on rolling them out. And that's the bottom line. Like, we had friends of friends go down to the Bahamas. As soon as you get off the plane, they facially recognize you, and you're tracked the entire time you're at the Bahamas.
such a sobering time to think about the ramifications of all
Yeah,
of
and
this.
I think again, I really believe we're going to win, but it always, like when you look back at history, it's always when people lose their money. And that's why Kelly and I do this podcast every week, because we're just like, if we can diversify our assets, get some of our assets offline, right? We got our hardware wallets, we got physical gold and silver, we have water, we have food, we have assets offline, out of government interference, while we go through this bumpy road, because they have their plan. I'm sure there's good people in the government that have a different plan. And then as the people wake up and rise to what's going on and see the truth, then they'll be like, no freaking way am I doing this. Can you imagine telling American men to stop eating hamburgers? Like, it's not going to go over well.
It would go over for a lot of people.
No.
For sure. And it's interesting. I was listening, I'm not sure what it was yesterday, and even Elon Musk said in this interview that I was listening to that if you're not holding the keys to your wallet, it's not yours.
It's not yours.
It's not yours. If you're not holding the keys to whatever crypto assets you have, meaning if you're holding it on an exchange, then those monies are not yours. So it's so important, again, I can't say it enough, to be looking at putting any of your assets onto a cold storage wallet. A Trezor, a Ledger, a Safepal, using a Keystone, if you're working on MetaMask or whatever it is. There are so many options available, but please take things off of the exchanges so that you can be protected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is called unbank yourself, baby.
Unbank yourself and become a decentralized girl or boy.
That's right. I mean, and and again, it's unfortunate that we're at this place, but like as one system falls, we have an opportunity to create something that's even better, and we will. I really, I feel it. We're going to move into something better. It's just, again, it's like it's such a bumpy road, and there's so much chaos and confusion. No one really knows the truth. And it's my belief that it's designed that way, because when you keep people confused and you keep people scared, it's so much easier to tell them what to do. You give them a problem, they react, and you got a solution. So we want to be mindful of these things. But like when I hear like negative feedback about XRP and Stellar being part of like central bank digital currencies, like Ukraine built their blockchain on Stellar for their central bank digital currency.
Right.
So, and again, it's not necessarily a bad thing if there's no mandates on it.
Exactly. Because I know when that first happened, there were some people in my community that were coming to me who had purchased XLM and were like, I think I want to get out. And I'm like, well, you have to look really broadly. What are the underlying issues, or how's it being presented, et cetera.
Absolutely. And I mean, and Stellar is still going to bank the unbanked. They're doing good things. And I think their intentions are good because they know that 40% of all of our jobs are going to be automated. And this isn't just like flipping hamburgers. I mean, I saw something about lawyers, and if you get a parking ticket, you can hire the robo lawyer, and the robo lawyer can scan like hundreds of thousands of legal documents and find a loophole for you, and you can get out of your ticket. And it's actually 69% effective to get you off your parking ticket.
Oh, wow.
So we have lawyers, we have accountants, we have a ledger in the sky. Everything is like, everything is transparent and everything is immutable. You can't change the blockchain. So why do we need accountants now when we have these digital ledgers? So these are some things we should think about. And a lot of doctors too, like robots can do surgeries better than doctors, and Grace, the robot, goes into nursing homes to like take care of elderly people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so fascinating.
So I think one of the biggest things here is that we don't, this dystopian societies, right? And so if you look at sci-fi as a whole, there's not a whole lot of positive outcomes you see within these sci-fi movies. I mean, they've got a very dark undertone. I mean, gosh, we've got to create our own vision of the future. So, okay, given that all these automations are taking place, how can this create a beneficial world? We've got to we have to see the golden threads in this. We can't look at it. I mean, there's got to be golden threads.
Well, I think we're going to have, because we already have the best medical care available to the elite. We just have to make it available for everybody through technology. So again, when we look at the current governmental structure and how money gets passed down, it's hierarchical. And in blockchain and in the new system, it's decentralized, so it's circular.
Right.
So that is the shining light on all of this. I think it looks like we're going into this dystopian society, and maybe we will for a little bit until enough people are like, we're not doing this. And then we get into like a decentralized world where everyone's vote counts, and we could vote on the blockchain and all of these. I mean, we could change the government.
And I think it's part of us all looking. I mean, you think about. So I'm thinking of the young lawyers in the room, or the young doctors and the young nurses that are going, "Oh my God, what am I going to do for a living?" You know, when we think of it, or even those that are working at McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever. It's like, what are they going to end up doing? And I think it gives us an opportunity to really go within and figure out, okay, what and how can I contribute in a brand new landscape, you know, and create something extraordinary. It's kind of like being, you know, if you look at the archetypes, being the wise fool, the one that's willing to follow the dream, the one that's willing to step out of line and speak their truth. And that moment is part of this whole transformation.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think it's really important to anchor into that energy, plug into what is it that you want? What is it that we want for the future?
Yeah, and if you're any job that can get automated, and I know Kelly and I said this a couple weeks ago, I would definitely start thinking about something that's going to exist in the future, right? Yeah. Because drivers, like there's just so many people are going to get displaced, but again, new jobs are created as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not an overnight thing. It's not the light is going to be flipped. The light switch is going to be flipped.
So. And maybe we can create a version of society that's more like the Jetsons.
I'm all for it.
I love Rosie. I want Rosie to come and help us out.
I used to love that show. Okay, for those of you that are younger than us, you might want to check out the Jetsons. It's a great little cartoon.
Way different than the cartoons are today, isn't that?
Yeah, way different. Those were the days, that and the Flintstones. Yabba dabba doo.
Yeah, every generation says that.
Yeah.
I started my car with my bare feet.
Yeah, we still may do that.
Oh man. Oh, did you see too that Austin, Texas is they're starting to look at accepting cryptocurrency to pay like taxes and things like that in the city of Austin as well. So again, we're starting to see like more and more adoption, and it's kind of like it starts off really, really slowly, you know, like we have Miami, New York City, Austin, Texas. I think there was Jackson, Tennessee. So the more we see this, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like half of the states, and then it'll be all of the states. And then it's pretty much everyone, because I think the United States is last to have like some sort of regulatory framework for digital assets like cryptocurrency. Everyone else, even if it's loosely defined, they do have that regulatory clarity to do business in other countries. So as soon as we get it in America, I really think that the speed of adoption will just pick up very, very quickly.
Well, and it's interesting because it seems as though each state can do however they choose. So like the Miami coin, which has a great staking rate, right? Oh my gosh. What is the staking rate from? Isn't it like 145% or something like that?
Yeah, and you get paid out in stacks, which is the smart contract platform for Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, I put a little bit on Miami coin and I'm getting those high rewards, which is really nice. I know. Yeah. Which is really cool. And did you see that Chainlink is going to provide that real-time data? Like they're integrating with all smart contract platforms. So Chainlink is down so significantly since that last crash that I think it is the leader, and it will be the leader for all of the real-time data. So we're pulling data feeds from like the Associated Press, from like signed legal documents, whatever it may be. Like it could be like, you know, sports scores, like anything that's real time, that is done with Chainlink.
Yeah, so Link is up 6.7%. But yeah, it's at $14 right now. When it was at its high, What was its high? Goodness
Like
gracious.
50 something, $52, $50.
I think it's 50. Yep. The high was, looking here real quick. Well, that shows 35. Oh, no, there's the high. There's the high. Had to go way, 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 way back. It's been a bit. 48?
Yeah. Yeah, it was about $50. Yeah. So.
Oh, I don't want to add link to, I don't have link. I'm not going to add another coin. I just can't. I just can't. But it's compelling. It's a compelling, I mean, obviously that's very compelling.
Yeah, I mean, and so many coins are like, again, like when you're looking to pick up some coins, you always just want to look at what was the all-time high and see where we're at. Because I know, like, I think we haven't talked about this, and maybe we should do a podcast on it, but there's a company called Singularity.net, and their token is AGI. And I think their token was like maybe like $1.90 or something. And now it's at 8 cents because it just, again, it's like, it's kind of like the next layer of technology that will be built upon the blockchain. So it's not something that's going to happen today, but like in 5 years from now, you know, if you can buy something for 9 cents and hold it, knowing that it's going to be providing like that quantum layer, it's something to like I'm starting to keep an eye on it now, and it's something that I'm going to want to add, you know, in the future.
Oh my gosh, that would take it. We could talk for hours about all these projects that have amazing opportunities to go into right now, for sure.
Yep. And I focus on the ISO 222 tokens a lot, just because I know for sure they're getting adopted this year because the company's websites are telling us that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's XLM, that's XRP, that's Algorand. Who else is rumored to be? Quant is rumored. HBAR is rumored. Who am I missing? I know I'm missing
IOTA.
I forgot IOTA. Yep.
So there's some really good tokens out there, and they're all doing like really cool projects too. So, you know, it's kind of fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, all right. Any other, well, I mean, truly, it's nice to see some green in the market. We've had some push since the release, which has been nice to see. Let's see where it takes us the rest of the week, the rest of the month, actually. The rest of the year, for God's sakes.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, we never know for sure, but with the good news being in the market and only that quarter of a hike, and it wasn't half a point, I mean, we could actually see like a nice little bull run here, you know? And if China does sign this deal with Saudi Arabia, like, I don't think people realize the significance of that, but that would be a lot less dollars trading within the SWIFT system. So all those dollars that aren't traded internationally come back home. And that raises inflation because we're flooding the market with dollars that no one wants.
Right.
So we definitely, and when that happens, the stock market goes up, right? The stock market and crypto can go up. So we definitely want to keep an eye on this, because this could create like a really nice bull cycle, and then the market will drop.
Right.
And then we'll do a global reset and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Stay tuned. Keep on keeping on with us.
Yeah, we're having fun. And again, we're going to take this education, and we're the co-creators of our reality, right? So we want to create our reality. I'm urging everybody, contact your senators, contact your House of Representatives. We do not want to be forced to do anything we don't want to do, even if they say it's for the greater good.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we're always going to be thinking about the good that we can do in the world, because we
absolutely. Yeah. So, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people invest in XRP, because it is a banker coin, and we really want regular people to create a massive amount of wealth so we can help a massive amount of people. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I believe it. We got this. We just got to hang in there.
Yep. Hanging in there. So until next time, as always, we say,
HODL on.
Your hosts for Two Women in Crypto are Andrea Caldero and Kelly Lair. Andrea can be reached at digitalcoach@proton.mil, or you can find her on LinkedIn at Andrea Caldero. Kelly runs two programs related to cryptocurrency: the Future in You Cryptocurrency Group for Women, which can be found at new72media.com/thefuture, and the Gateway to Crypto, the Magic of Glipnir, through the Northern Gateway at thenortherngateway.org/cryptocurrency.